We have breaking news. The Teamsters union will not endorse either candidate in this year's presidential race. Unions, a critical part, of course, of President Biden's winning coalition 4 years ago. But this year, the Teamsters president spoke at the Republican National Convention, putting support in doubt. The union represents 1.6 million workers and retirees. Let's talk about it with CNN's Kayla Tausche. Kayla, this is something that hasn't happened in decades.
It hasn't happened since 1996, Brianna, and you mentioned that unions were a critical component of President Biden's winning coalition back in 2020, and Democrats had hoped that once again, especially after the policies put forth by the Biden-Harris administration, that it would be an easy win for Vice President Harris. Now, she has secured the endorsements for most major union leaders, but this one was always outstanding. And around the time of the Republican National Convention, when Sean O'Brien, the leader of the Teamsters, took the stage to deliver remarks, stakeholders at the time were suggesting that Teamsters officials had been saying behind the scenes that they could remain neutral in this year's race. Remember, union leaders themselves have a political calculus to make within their own organizations. They are elected in many cases, and they have to keep their membership happy. And in many of these cases, they've waited until their own internal polls showed exactly how their rank and file members felt before they came out with their endorsement. And many of those polls were conducted in recent months. The Teamsters poll, which was conducted over the course of 6 months with sort of a fast track in the last month when Harris became the candidate, showed overwhelming support for former President Trump in many cases. But in the statement that the Teamsters put out just a few moments ago, they nodded to specific proposals that they were unable to clinch with either candidate as the reason for remaining neutral. Sean O'Brien, who's the president of the Teamsters, saying, unfortunately, neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union to ensure the interests of working people are always put before big business. He goes on to say, we sought commitments from both Trump and Harris not to interfere in critical union campaigns or core Teamsters industries and to honor our members' right to strike, but were unable to secure those pledges. Now, to many following this situation, it's not necessarily a surprise given that this position had been more or less telegraphed for the last few months, but they had dangled the possibility of a change in that stance, inviting Vice President Harris to many roundtables with rank and file members to try to have these discussions with her, only to have the end conclusion be the same.